So I remember telling God, hey, me, I'm done like getting it wrong.
Yeah.
And that's when I started my bold, audacious prayer of, God, you need to show me my person in a dream. Otherwise, I am not
Very
bolding.
specific.
Yeah, very specific. I had heard actually like such stories of people praying and like they saw exactly like their person in how the dream was. And I was like, that's what I want.
Welcome to the Best Kept Secrets podcast, where we share our best kept secrets about life, love, God, and everything in between.
Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Best Kept Secrets podcast, where we share our best kept secrets on God, love, life, and everything in between. Today we're tackling that love part of our intro, because we always say God, love, life. Today we're talking about love for real. We actually talk about love a lot in this podcast, maybe a bit too much, but that's what you guys like to hear, and we also like to talk about it. But yeah, so today we have a guest with us. I'm actually going to let her introduce herself, and then we can tell you guys what we're going to be talking about. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Sharon. Hi, everyone. My name is Nkirote Mutisya. Truly honored to be a guest on the podcast. I am a devoted lover of Yahweh, Bible believing babe. I think that's very important to mention. I am a daughter, a sister, an auntie to 5 incredible nieces and nephews. And yeah, a friend, a girl's girl. Recently launched my YouTube, so also I guess a budding content creator. Yeah, so just really excited to be here. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. You know, I've always wanted to be those people who introduce themselves as, my name is Sharon, nimeokoka napenda Bwana Yesu. I mean, I used to like judge like the aunties that I would hear introducing themselves like that at functions. I'm like, hey, like
Now
we've become the aunties. We've really I'm like, I'm a lover of Christ.
Yes.
So yeah, thank you so much for being here. I've actually known you. We were talking off camera. Known you for like 10 years.
Yep.
How do you feel like we've evolved in the last 10 years? Because you knew me.
Whoosh, yeah.
And then I like knew to some extent. So we did like a exchange program in Morocco back in 2015, and it's now 2025. How do you think
10 years later
I've evolved from that version that you knew, and then I'll do you?
Yeah. Okay, I feel like yours is a bit more obvious because you're already in the social media space then. So I've gotten like a sneak peek. So I've gotten a sneak peek of the evolution online. I'd say the clear thing, which is just like related to what we just talked about, like being very vocal and unashamed about being a believer. I think that's definitely a huge evolution on your side and my side as well. I mean, I was still a Christian, used to talk about it.
I wasn't.
You weren't a Christian?
No.
At all?
No.
Oh, interesting.
Like when you knew me, like back then, did we ever talk about God? Ever?
I mean, I remember talking about boys.
Yeah, the usual.
Shopping was a big thing. Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, at least you are a good person. So I definitely did not take you as...
I didn't think I was a good person back then.
But it was 7 weeks, remember?
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Foreign country.
Yeah, and then we...
Yeah. Okay, so maybe then after you became I remember actually the reel you posted talking about how Best Kept Secrets Pod is now officially a Christian podcast. And I was like, yay, finally. It felt like an out of the closet moment. Like we've been dabbling a bit here and there, and now we're just being more vocal about it. So I think that was also really good to see, and I guess a mark of transition for this podcast. What else will I say? I mean, back then we were traveling on our parents' budget, so broke. Uni was a struggle.
Uni student, in a foreign country.
I feel there's also a lot of boy drama then.
Was there?
Yeah.
With me or you or both of us?
This one we'll talk offline.
I don't even remember. Okay, maybe. Oh yeah, I remember.
You remember?
Yeah, I remember mine.
I
don't know if I remember yours.
There was a kaka story. I feel like for mine, then I was battling. I was trying to figure out like my my space in life and identity. I don't know if you remember like the other babes we were with on that trip.
Yeah.
And then there was one specific one we were just,
Oh, yeah.
And I remember one of those days when we were in Morocco, I was on the rooftop and I called my sister. I was crying. I was like, I don't know why I'm not a girl's girl. Like, why does this babe not like me? And I was feeling like everything is just coming undone. And I'm just like, girl, Aki,
like back then it was a catastrophe, but now you're like,
it was
not that deep.
Yeah. So we've come a long way in 10
I feel like for you, I feel like you've always been a Christian. I think even back then, like I knew you were a Christian.
Yeah.
I knew that like you were like kind of.
Was I yapping about God during that trip?
I don't know if you were yapping. It was more of your actions that like made me know that you are a Christian. I think you are fashion girly. I don't know, like
there was a time
going on.
there was
I
a
know
time
you
actually
really
I wanted to
loved-
get into
yeah.
content creation specifically
for fashion. I remember.
Yeah. I guess interests have evolved as
Okay.
well. That's part of
Yeah.
the evolution as well.
I think another thing is that like I knew you were like really hardworking, which I can still see even now.
thank
Like I can see
you.
even like your climb up the corporate ladder is not surprising for me because even 10 years ago you were still like very focused and very diligent.
Oh,
and
I'm so
very
humbled.
like
Thank
because you
you
were like president of ISEC and all of these things. I was like, this girl is going places.
Amen.
For sure. And so now
Amen.
even where you are now, like is not
Yeah.
surprising to me. Yeah.
Corporate is
So-
another story.
yeah, but
yeah.
that thing, that like discipline and that like diligence has always been there.
Oh, thank
in you.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Yeah.
So we talked about boy drama earlier, and we're actually talking about singleness because 10 years ago we were single. Now we're also single. So
some things have not evolved.
some things have not evolved. We have evolved, but some things have remained
Yeah.
the same. How long have you been single?
I think my last commitment thing, probably mid 2019.
So like 5 years.
Yeah,
4 years.
Like five and a half,
Five
or
and a
6
half.
and a half.
Five.
Yeah.
Five. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Let's just say 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
How have those 5 years been?
hey, where are the tissues? It's been an up and down journey. I won't lie. So for context, mid 2019, I had just gotten out of a toxic situation.
Okay.
And at that point, that was my like second relationship. So I remember telling God, hey, me, I'm done like getting it wrong.
Yeah.
And that's when I started my bold, audacious prayer of, God, you need to show me my person in a dream. Otherwise,
Oh, dream.
I am not
Very
bold.
specific.
Yeah, very specific. I had had actually like such stories of people praying and like they saw exactly like their person in how the dream was. And I was like, that's what I want. So I prayed about it on and off for maybe like 2 years. And the prayer was always, me, God, I want to see his face. Like that's going to be my confirmation. So if someone comes and katias me, if I'm not
Doesn't
seeing
look
him
like
in the dream,
Yeah.
it's not him.
Yeah.
At some point I stopped because I felt like maybe this is like a testing of God. Maybe these aren't prayers I should be praying as a Christian. And coincidentally at the time during Bible study, we were doing the book of Genesis. And I'm sure you know the story of Isaac and Rebecca. So in Genesis chapter 24, Abraham sends out his servant. He's like, go tafuta the wife for my son.
Yeah.
And then when the servant gets to the land, he prays to God and asks for a very specific sign to know who
me.
would be
Yeah.
the wife of Isaac. So when I read that, it was like inspired action for, okay, I can actually pray this prayer. So I continued praying. And I think it was in 2020, January, I got a dream. Yeah.
Okay.
So I feel because of, you know, it's I feel it's very different as Christians to read the Bible and like apply promises, which by all means, like the word of God is written to us. So, you know, you read a verse and you take it for yourself personally. But I think it's like a notch higher when now God reveals something specifically to you. So I think for me, what the dream did was just assure me that there was actually a man out there for me. Yeah. I didn't know the when. In fact, when I got the dream, I was like, this year. And as you can see, we're here talking about singleness. So it
5
was
years
not,
later.
it was not that year. But I feel like in the downs I've had of being single, because it's it's a hard journey. I won't lie. Granted, and maybe to be fair to myself, I've not always like spoken about like timelines, like this is when I want to get married, this is when I want to have my first baby. But I guess just as the years go by, and especially after getting the dream, it's like, hey God, I thought this was going to be like a not immediate, but like a near
soon.
thing. Yeah. So it's the times I question. I'm like, is this going to happen? When is it going to happen? Am I going to be the bride who walks down the aisle like at 40 years old? You know, God forbid. Yeah. But you know, if it's the will of God, there's nothing much you can do. So I just say because of getting that dream, it has made things easier. But I've still had moments where I have doubted, I have cried, I've been miserable, but they've been far and in between just because of the grace of God. Yeah.
So in the dream, like you saw him.
So in the dream, so there are two people in the dream. I saw the men from waist down.
Okay.
And I remember immediately I woke up, I just felt the voice of God saying, like, there is your first dream, and I want you to wake up and write down the details, and others are going to follow. So for context, at the time I just started this thing, faith journaling. So on Sundays I would put down like the things God is teaching me, and then what my prayer requests are for the next week. So that particular I got the dream on a Tuesday. On Sundays when I had just started doing this thing, and I was very specific. I was like, God, I want to get the dream for my husband.
Yeah.
So when it happened, I was just like, oh my gosh. And then obviously after that, now every other night that followed, I was just like, hey God, another dream, another repeat. But another dream never came. Years later, still another dream has not come. But what has happened is God has confirmed certain bits and pieces through other people. So either I've received word of knowledge, someone else has had a dream that they've shared with me. So there've been some things that have connected, but obviously I still don't know the entire picture. Yeah. And I'm still waiting for the face in the dream. Yeah. As the Lord sees fit.
Okay, great. So for me, I feel like our journeys are kind of different in some aspects. I've been single for a year, actually a year in June. So by the time this is coming out, I'll probably be already single for a year.
Yeah.
Before that, I was a serial dater. So I used to, leave one relationship to the next, to the next, to the next. I never even like took long enough. Like, by the way, thank you, next. Like, for real, thank you, next.
Bye-bye.
Like, let's move on to the next guy. But like I was a serial dater because like I was very insecure. I didn't like myself. So I didn't want to be alone long enough for me to have to face myself. In fact, I couldn't even be alone. Like, that thought of being alone was like scary to me. It was just something I was not familiar with. I was always either like, even when I'm alone, I'm distracted, but like I always just needed someone there to, just to have someone around me.
And this was still pre-getting saved, Amma?
This was, no, even like after, because I've been saved for 8 years. So even after Christ, after Christ, what happened is that, oh God, this is not gonna sound great. I've actually even shared another episode. I met a guy and I was just like, yeah, this is my husband. God has not confirmed anything.
Nothing.
He's not told me anything. He's not told him anything either. And then I made the mistake of telling him, God has told me you're my husband.
Tangazo.
Oh my God, please don't do that. Anyways, so I did that, and then there was also like someone else who thought he was my husband as well, but neither of us had like prayed. None of us had confirmation. So I ended up like staying in a relationship with him for like 5 years just because I was convinced he was my husband. And then even him, because I've told him, God has told me you're my husband, even him, he feels like, okay, since you're my wife, then let's make it work, but like it was a very unhealthy, toxic situation. Like there was a lot of cheating, a lot of like lying, manipulation, like just a lot, right? And just also a lot of immaturity on my end as well. But then like the hunger for marriage and then the feeling like I can't be alone too. So that was those two things combined, recipe for disaster. So that ended, and then when it ended, I just got into the next situation, and the next situation after that. I think the longest that I was single before now this 1 year was 6 months. And then after those 6 months, I told myself, now let me go on a date to reward myself.
Good
for
job,
being
Sharon.
single. Girl, you
Let's
done
get into a
6
relationship.
months. And in those 6 months, I wasn't alone. Like I was out. I was talking to men. I was
talking
flirting.
stages.
I was like doing things. I was in the club. Like I was still getting attention from men, right? I wasn't actually like silent, like actually alone. So I go on a date after 6 months, actually on my 6-month anniversary to celebrate. I ended up in a relationship with that guy. So I was just like, okay, cool. And then actually it was a situationship. A short situationship. He love bombed me, left. I went back to my ex. That one for 5 years. My husband went back to him. God forbid, guy. I went back to him, and then I just had like a moment where I just woke up, and I was just like, what am I doing back here?
I know those
In
moments.
fact, like I even like I was basically living with him at that point, right? So there's a day I just like woke up, and I'm just like, I've just been cooking for this man every day. First of all, and he didn't like eating ati food that has been in the fridge for like a day. He wants fresh food. Fresh food every day. There are times I even used to run away and go back to my house because nimechoka. Hey, every day toiling in the kitchen. I used to run away. I just go back to my house because I'm so tired. He comes for me. He comes to get me, or he sends me an Uber. Because it's just like
you're the one who told
I've
him you're
set
the wife.
standard. I've told him he's my husband, and then every day I've told him I cook for him, I make him breakfast, I pack for him, he goes to work, and then at night when he comes back, he also expects a freshly cooked meal. Literally acting like a wife, right? Feeding his cat, doing all of these things. When he travels, I'm the one who stays in the house, takes care of the house, takes care of the cat.
Also cleaning the house?
No.
Okay.
So we had cleaners, but I was the one that they were talking to.
Okay.
Mind you, I have my own house where I pay rent, but I've just left it. That house was like storing my clothes. So he used to go get more clothes for me because he knows if I could go to my house, I won't want to leave. So he's just like, it's fine, I'll go get more for you, just tell me where they are, I'll go get. Anyways, so one day I woke up and I'm like, hey, it's been 5 years, giving this man 5 years of my life. And then I was just like, what am I doing? Like, what am I actually doing in this house? And then I had like gotten some information that like he was like kind of like having inappropriate conversations with another girl. While I was there, I was just like seated at another table. So while I was away, he was busy like flirting with her and telling her things. I'm like, yani, that's the kind of even unaniona, like you disrespect me so much. You can't even wait for me to leave the room for you to like have such conversations. And that girl even asked him, Kwani, you and Sharon, blah, blah. He said, no, we're just homies. Like, that's my friend. Like, we're besties. My
homie who cooks
like,
for
we're
me
best friends. Mimi nimepika. Oh my God, guys. Anyways, all this because God told me, quote unquote, God told me he's my husband. I'm hungry for marriage as well, and I don't want to be alone, right? Anyways, eventually I left. And then he kind of like could tell I wanted to leave, so he dangled the marriage thing. So he was just like, actually my parents want to meet you, let's have lunch next week, let's like talk next steps, blah blah. So if I went for that lunch, I probably would have ended up marrying him. I didn't go for the lunch. We actually broke up the week before the lunch with his parents. I did. Packed my bags, blocked him, didn't go back. Then obviously wasn't alone for too long. I think 3 months max in another relationship, and then that ended. Now I was just like, okay, Sharon, you need to be serious, sit down with yourself. And actually after my last relationship, that desire that I had to like run away, to not face myself, to like not be alone wasn't there anymore. I didn't even desire to be with anyone else. I wasn't even looking at men. In fact, men used to talk to me, I'm like, just when just leave me alone. So it's been a year of doing that. Most of it has been happy, but only because it's been a year. So I can imagine 5 years later, like you, I would be very, I've had moments of frustrations, but I can't say that like I'm super frustrated.
And also it doesn't have to be. I mean, like the grace of God can like move with you throughout the entire time, and hopefully it's not 5 years.
Please,
amen.
So how do we know, or for you, like what has helped you differentiate, you know, a healthy desire? Because like it's healthy to desire marriage, it's healthy to desire children, and like when you're actually now just like idolizing it and you're obsessing over it.
Yeah, that's a good question. First of all, can I just say there's nothing wrong with the desire for marriage?
Of
I feel
course,
like
yeah.
women, like, even when I did a video on my YouTube channel, Single and Disappointed in God, and I got some comments to the tune of, just because you desire marriage doesn't mean like it's going to happen for you, so you need to like move on, or like some of them are from like a shameful place, like, why do you want marriage so much, like you're so desperate for marriage? And I'm just like, guys, it was literally the first relationship God created, like, as in, there's nothing wrong with being a single woman and saying I desire marriage at some point whenever it's going to come. I don't think women should be put, like, there's this whole narrative for we've made marriage like a prize and the goal, and that I get. Like, definitely there are more things to life, there's more
course.
things to being a woman, but at the same time it shouldn't be you're now overly dependent and you should push down that desire just because you don't want to seem needy for love. So yeah, let me just put that out there, because I feel like I've gotten a lot of like comments along those lines. It became unhealthy for me when I started questioning God a lot, and not from a place of humility or like God, I'm weary, I'm tired, I'm bringing my feelings to you. It was from a point of, hey God, I'm serving you, where is this husband? Like, at some point I became very entitled, and I could even tell when the tone of my prayers changed with God. And now it was just like I started telling God, you're a bad father, like, I thought there would be something in it for me, like a reward in terms of being faithful all of these years, being a minister of the gospel. I mean, I haven't gotten it right all the time, obviously, and I've had my fair share of situations that I was not supposed to be in romantically, but I felt like in the grander scheme of things, and it's so funny, like when you get that down path for Ati, I'm righteous, God, you should bless me. It's like, what righteousness? The standard of God is like a holy standard, is very high. There's none of us
Jesus.
can achieve exactly. So I think that's the point I started to realize, hey, there's something like completely warped about my view of the situation I'm in. I was not crying from a place of God, let me in on what's happening, why am I waiting? It was just like, you're unfair, I no longer trust in your goodness, like I think I remember this one time I was driving and I was actually calling my sister, crying on phone, because I was like, I'm leaving this event, I'm single, it's late, there's no one checking in on me, and I was just like, I'm so tired, like, what is even the point of serving God, like. So I feel like when you begin to tap into your emotions and your feelings, and you're not reminding yourself the truth of the word and who God is, then now it starts becoming murky waters, and then also like just like I've never been in this position necessarily, but that thing for like, you talk to a guy and just like, could he be the one, like you go on a date and you're just already thinking 10 steps ahead, like, oh my gosh, this could be
Is he
the
my
husband.
husband?
Wacha nipange timeline. You hear he says something about himself, you're like, ooh, perfect, that's what I've
Sounds
been
like a
praying for.
husband.
I mean, when you're constantly walking through life, always, like, there's one time I got this advice that you should always be positioning yourself for your husband, and I'm like, I see where that advice could come from, but at the same time, I don't want it to be the one thought that I'm constantly thinking about when I'm in public spaces. Like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't do this because my husband could be here and he could be looking at me. So I feel like I think when it becomes an obsession, like you're just constantly thinking about it, constantly looking at men from the filter of, could he be my husband, could he not? And also when you begin questioning God, just like the fact that you lack a relationship or you lack a marriage, if that begins to turn into God is not faithful or God is not trustworthy, then I think definitely there's a problem there.
Yeah, someone asked me, is God still good even if you never receive your promise? So even if you never get married and you never have children, will God still be good?
The even if point. I wrestled with that, I'll be honest. Because I got a dream, I was like, so then what would that mean about your faithfulness? Because then if you don't give me a husband, either two things have happened. Either you're the liar or that dream was not from you. And me, I'm just in my daily lunar saying, yeah, I got a dream from God 2 years ago, yada, yada, yada. So right before I sat down and did the video, that was the place I was at. I felt like God, because I had now gotten to the place where it was an obsession, it was unhealthy. I was questioning the character of God.
Yeah.
We were now struggling. And now he was pushing me to ask him that question, like, what does it make me if you never get to be called a wife, if you never get to be called a mother? And I was just like, what? Like, I can't, I couldn't think of like 10 years from now, like just a life, like living a life where I'm just an auntie, you know, and whether you're the rich auntie or like just you're an auntie, like this,
That's it.
that's it. There's no husband to go home to, there's no kids. So I struggled, but when I did the video, because even the video itself was a struggle, God had told me, and I was like, Z, you're not Anika in me like that. I am not sharing my single story. Z, I was just like, I've refused. And then, you know, like with God, like he wore me down, sent very many people, and then I finally did it. So at the end of the video is when I actually get to that point in tears, but it felt like I was letting go, and I was telling God, but above all, you know best. Like, you're a good God. So I will still wrestle with why you gave me a dream, because I still believe it was from God. But at the same time, because he has never let me down and he works all things for my good, then yes, I can trust in his plans for me. I can trust that his intentions are good, even if I don't understand it. So yeah, even if I never get to be called a wife, a Mrs. something, Mama Nani, it is well. Because, you know, at the end of the day, like what God said to Abraham, I am your great reward. You know, sometimes we seek so much from God that we forget to seek him first. And I feel like that's now the change that happened. Like, God was telling me, you know, when you do your Bible studies, all this like service you're doing, it's not for a husband or for a job or for something. It is for me.
Christ.
First and foremost, it is me that you receive. So if then I can be fulfilled in that, I don't need anything or anyone else. So by seeking God, then I can be able to say, it's fine. There's nothing else that compares to you. So if you don't give me the marriage, if you don't give me the blessing of being called a mom, it's okay. You are still a good God.
Okay. I was actually going to say that earlier, that our reward is Christ. That's the reward for our faithfulness, for our service, for our discipline, our seeking him. The reward is Christ. The reward is not a man. The reward is not children. The reward is not a job. Those are things that God gives us because he's a good father. Because as a father, as our heavenly father, he desires to give us things. So when he gives you the car, the marriage, the job, all of those things, it's not because that you are a good child. Then now you are rewarded because you are a good child. No, there's nothing that we can ever do for us to now be worthy of being given something by God. And I feel like there's some sort of like I saw a TikTok that were saying that, like, she was feeling like people who, like Christian girlies, sometimes resent God for giving other people like marriage and children and all of these things, and that for you're serving in like 5 departments, you're praying every day, you're reading your word, and you're like, God, unapatia wale mio unipe mbona? Why did you like leave me out of the equation? Is that something you struggled with?
Yeah, for sure. As I've said, like, because I was in this space where I've been, I mean, for the most part, I've publicly been a Christian. Even in ISEC, the way it was secular, I was still done going to clubs and preaching to people, and we're just all of us in the singing. So there was I think it was like a chip on my shoulder. Like, you know, I've been a Christian for so long, and you know, I serve in church, and you know, I go to Bible studies. Mbona mimi sipatiwi hii marriage? Hii marriage onye hata mimi najua nimeiombea sana. Actually, I remember there was this particular wedding I saw for someone that I know, not very closely. It's not a close friend, like just someone like degrees of separation. And I remember just feeling like, wow, even her God And immediately I said it.
Exactly,
God just
convicted
rebuked
you.
me. He was like, "What do you mean? What do you mean?"
You don't get to choose. Yeah.
Yeah, so definitely there's that feeling of you clapping for other people, and genuinely speaking, like especially for close friends and family, I'm happy. Like
Yeah.
it'll never take away
From
like
them.
this is not an only like a select few can get married. All of you can get married, all of you can get children. I think sometimes it's just, especially on social media, I don't think it's happened in real life with anyone, but on social media, when I scroll and I see guys engaged or a wedding has happened, I'm just like, wow, God, I see what you're doing for others. I shall patiently wait.
Yeah.
So yeah, there are definitely times I yo-yo between those
Yeah.
feelings of just being like, hey God, like
Yeah.
I thought even the faithful ones kwanza ndo utakuwa number one kupatiwa hizi marriages, but you know best. Yeah.
That's so interesting because I feel like I'm on the opposite side of the spectrum because I've never felt like a good enough child to be rewarded for anything. So it's never felt like, oh God, you don't see all these things I'm doing.
Yeah.
Like for me, if he gives me, I'm like, oh my God, yanu many pair. Like, you know what I mean? Like I've never felt like, oh, I'm such a good child and so I deserve this thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've even ever felt deserving of marriage. It's just like I've always seen it as a gift from God, and it's always just been like, okay, God, like when you give me, you give me.
Yeah.
But I definitely do have like my frustrations around that, and I think so what I'm seeing, the narrative that is now like happening, like the podcast I watch, the sermons that I listen to, is now like people saying that like, yeah, like singleness is purposeful, like, you know, fill your time with all of these things, and you won't desire marriage as much and all of these things, and you just wait and whatever. I don't know how I feel about that. Yeah.
Okay, so yes, singleness.
Yes to that.
Yes to
but
to purposefulness. And for sure, I don't think anyone should be spending their days just, oh, when I get married, this is what I'm going to do for my husband. And I mean, sis, there are things to be done. We need to establish the kingdom of God, this work, But at the same time, I don't think in the doing of those things that it'll wipe out the desire, which I feel like maybe that's where the narrative could go. I think those two things can exist. In a healthy balance. So like I feel like now where I've gotten, it's like actually what happened after, because right before I did the video, all my prayers were about my husband. Fasting, it is the one thing on top of my list. Like I need to know more details. God, give me another dream, give me word of knowledge. I need to start like it. I was just constantly praying about the husband. Immediately I did the video. Right after that, it's not that the desire was gone, but the obsession. So now I had moved on to other things. I was now more focused on, okay, God, what are you calling me right now in terms of career, in terms of ministry? Like how does that look like? What do you want me, like how do you want me to steward my social media, for example? And the instance I realized that a shift had happened was when, after I shared the video, now a couple of guys were DMing me and sharing like either stories. 2 people that I know shared with me like word of knowledge, like God sent me to tell you this, which was, by all intents and purposes, like they were good things. A lot of them were around the lines of, I can see your marriage is coming soon. I don't know how soon, but like it was a couple of things. And how I know I had let go of that unhealthy desire is because now it never became an obsession. I now was never like, hey, God, okay, you told this person this. Now reveal to me more details. I just prayed, I thanked God, and I kept it moving. Now I was super focused on other things. So I think that's now the healthy balance. It's like, if you're to ask me today, do you want to get married? Yes, I do. From time to time, I still pray about my husband. The prayers even shifted to now I'm praying for like his well-being, his finances, his business, the life that we're going to have together. And then I also pray for myself. Like, I think there's also now an unhealthy obsession for him. How is he going to look like? God, like my list. And then I started asking God, how do you want to prepare me for marriage in my single season? And then now there's all these other things that fill my life. Like I am a daughter, like I have a family, I have friends, I have work, I have like circles of ministry. So it's like I'm not obsessed. It's not the thing that I constantly think about. There are moments in a day that something could happen and I'd be like, oh, that would be nice to experience with my husband, but I keep it moving. It's not a sad space. I think what shifted was a quiet confidence in, I know God's got me. I know He's working in the background. He's gonna do it. But sasa sitashinda nimerudi kwake like, God, when? Like, no. So yes, your singleness can have purpose, because at the end of the day you are meant for much more. Even when you get married, there's still much more you're going to do separately. But it shouldn't remove the desire, because the desire is still from God, and that's a blessing in itself.
I completely agree. I think my frustration with the current conversation is you guys are not being honest. Like, this thing is hard. It's hard. Me, especially as someone who's never been single long enough, I don't know if people are actually talking about how frustrating it gets. And then obviously, like, I've gotten to a point where I don't want to do it my own way. I've done it my own way for how many years of being an adult, right? Because if I wanted to do it my own way, I could get into a relationship today that I know is clearly not for me. But I've now gotten to a place of spiritual maturity where I know that's dumb. Don't do that. So I don't know if people are being honest enough that, like, it's very frustrating. It's frustrating to attend wedding after wedding after wedding after wedding, being bridesmaid after bridesmaid after bridesmaid, and you just wonder, okay, God, when is it gonna happen for me? It's frustrating to, like, age as a woman knowing that, like, scientifically they are saying all of these things about like getting pregnant at what age, which I think obviously God defies the odds of science, but it's still a thought that will always be at the back of your mind, right? It's frustrating having your family asking you, like your aunties, your mother, your everyone, like, it's even gotten to a point like where me, if anyone asks me, I'm just like, just pray for me.
Ask God.
Just ask God, because I don't know. Ask God. That's what I say. And then my mom is like, why are you telling people to pray for you? They'll think something is wrong with you. I'm like, sasa unataka niwaambie nini? What should I tell them? Ask God, pray for me. I don't know. But like, it is frustrating. Like, it's frustrating to like hang out with your friends and their men, and like you're there alone. Like, there's a day like 2 weeks ago, last week, I had like a very long day at work, and I was like literally crashing, and like I had like my back was in pain, my head was aching, and then I had to drive myself home, and then there was traffic, and I just sat there in that traffic, and I was just like, God, this is the time to park my car somewhere and call my man and be like, I'm just too tired to drive, please come help me. There's so many like moments where I'm just like, a man would be so nice right now to just like it would just like go home to. So I don't know if we're being fully honest about how frustrating it is. However, I have experienced what now the podcast and everyone else is saying about singleness being purposeful. I've never had a purposeful single season until currently, right? Like, I have found so much identity that like so much of my identity as being a single person. Like, before, when you're not single, you're distracted. Like, let's just be honest. Like,
it's true.
When you're married, when you have children, you're distracted. This is like the one time I keep thinking about that. I get to be me. I get to know who I am, like, fully. What does Sharon like? What doesn't she like? I get to go home. If I want to eat, I keep saying, if I want to eat popcorn for dinner, I eat popcorn. No one is gonna ask me anything. You know what I mean? Like, I've also now like dedicated a lot of my time like to God, like to serving, to being in church, doing Bible studies, doing all of these things, because I don't have distractions. I don't have anyone I'm committed to. I don't have children waiting for me when I go back home. Like, it's literally just me, and God has taught me so much about myself. He's really worked on me. He's really consecrated me. Like, there's so much that he's done. And I think I have found a lot of purpose. Like, I think I'm so in alignment with myself and with God. And I think if I was in a relationship, that wouldn't have happened. So that's just like trying to like coexist in both realities. Like you were saying, like both realities can exist. So I'm trying to like find balance between both.
That makes a lot of sense. Actually, what you said about not being able to do certain things when you're married, I remember there was this period of time, I think this was like last year, but I only say that September was like a really good month for me because I was off social media, and like things, like when you're just in a state of flow, like you're disciplined. I was working out consistently at the time. I was doing my devotion, and I was receiving a lot of revelations from God. So one, I remember like I would do this thing where every time I'd go to sleep, because I wouldn't use my phone, I'd talk to God. So like we'd have conversations. I'd tell God about my day, then I'd maybe pray about whatever it is I want to pray about, and then go to sleep. And then one day it hit me. I was like, what? When I get married, I want to be able to have these conversations with you, God. And that just, I now started asking myself, what else? What else am I going to miss out on because I'm going to be married? So while, yes, we desire this next season of life, there's also like, there are things you can only enjoy now, especially your relationship with God. You'll never be non-distracted as you are now. And I guess it's what Paul was saying, like it is better to remain unmarried, because honestly right now your entire time could be for God. You know, when you have kids, when you have a husband, those are ministries in themselves, but they still take away from the totality of your time that could be directed to God. So it's definitely something for us to think about as well. Like, what are the bits of the current season that you'll never get back, and so you appreciate them while you're still in this season.
Oh, I appreciate a lot. Also because I have married friends, so they tell me things, I'm like, girl, that's crazy. Like that is wild. Like I don't know if I'm like ready for any of that. I have friends who have kids as well, so they tell me things like how like it's a full-time job, and how you're like fully devoted to like raising these little ones. Like I'm like, and then I just get to be by myself.
Imagine.
It is actually very purposeful.
A blessing.
It is a blessing. I think there's a verse, I mean, that's popular about like seasons, and like there's a time and season for everything. Time for reaping, time for sowing, time for all of these things. God moves with seasons, right? And if you don't steward your current season properly, you will stay in that season until you've stewarded it like good enough for you to be able to progress into the next season. So that's what I keep telling God now. Like, I think my prayer now is going to shift to, okay, God, help me steward my current season well, so that when I move on to the next season, I will be well prepared. Like, I'll know why. Like, we're looking back, I'm sure like once I get married and I have the kids, I'll look back and I'll be like, okay, that's why that happened. Like, God was teaching me in that season, and it's equipped me for the next season. So I'm trying to steward this season as well as I can. It is frustrating, I'm not gonna lie. But I'm trying to steward it as well as I can. I definitely like struggle here and there, but I keep thinking like, okay, so I've done 1 year, can I do another year and another year?
Grace of God. You can imagine.
Oh my God.
I mean, as someone who has done 5 years and counting, God, you know. Imagine in the, like, when I look back, it's not been that bad. Like, honestly.
Were you dating in that time?
I've gone on dates, but I've
that's
never
what I mean,
but I've never also, like, I don't go on that many, like a lot of dates. Like this year I've not gone on any dates. I think it's also something I think it's also something I'm trying to learn. I was literally just having this conversation with my friend yesterday, and I was saying how it's bad, like spiritual health, to just open yourself up to everyone. I used to be the babe for, because I'm a Christian, like I'll respond to everyone's DM and I'm going to be courteous, and I'm, I can't leave you on red. Nowadays, like, kwanza people who text me hi, I just immediately delete. I'm like, we're not being serious, guys. In the year of the Lord 2025, like let's like add a bit more meat to the messages. So like with dating, I don't go on that many number of dates, because also I'm very wary to open up like something that, like, now I don't waste time. I don't be in talking stages that are leading nowhere. Just practicing discernment to really, like, if they're not the one to nafanya nini, like I usually don't see why I should continue a conversation with someone who's clearly katia in me, and I already know, like, this is not the person. So over the years, there's been a lot of that. They've been like 8 months where there's no one in my DMs. I'm not talking to anyone. There's no one who's trying to catch my attention. And I guess just like now, the feeling of your life with other things, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be ministry, just the fact that you are an individual with so many layers. So there's work, guys are in content creation, you have maybe
hobbies, friends.
Like there's so much. So yeah, like imagine like those moments will be the very rare moments when you
Yeah.
look back, because the grace of God is abundant, and like if you have given over that season to him, then for sure he's going to carry you through those times, and they'll probably just be like fleeting thoughts, like you're at a wedding, you're like, oh, this would be nice to be here with my husband, and then inaisha tu hapo. It doesn't have to become a thing. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be you going home crying or feeling sad about it. Yeah, I think it is possible to be in that space and for it to not be frustrating.
Yeah.
And for the ones who talk about it like that, who have probably ascended and have gotten there, I actually don't think it's a lie. I think it's, while yes, there's struggles, I think it's actually very possible for those to be the rare occurrences in your entire single season. So it's like, as you rightly put it, like Jesus Christ is the reward. So if you're focused on that, then do you actually really feel like your
Yeah.
current season is lacking meaning or is incomplete?
Yeah.
No. So yeah, I feel definitely, yeah, if God forbid he were to add another 2 years, 3 years, you got this. But that is not what
God
we are.
forbid.
Yeah.
Do you feel like, do you believe in the concept of the one, because you've
Yes.
mentioned it? Yeah.
Yes, 100%. And I know this is like a, like we have different school of thoughts as Christians, and rightly so, because I don't think it's a doctrinal issue. But I feel like over the years, the God I have come to know, like, is a God of detail. Like when I think about, you know, when he says to Jeremiah, I knew you before I formed you in your mother's womb.
Yeah.
Like he knows the number of hairs on our head. I'm just like, this God who is so detailed about the family I was going to be born in, the year I'll be born in, the schools I'd go through, my race. How can he not also be detailed about my marriage? And knowing how the marriage covenant is so important to God, I don't think God is an arbitrary God. Like he would plan all of these things, then ikifika marriage and say, okay, sasa hii nimekuachia, you pick the person. There's definitely a lot of grace and mercy in, if either one of the parties were to quote unquote choose the wrong person, then God will work out all things for good. But as I'm seated waiting as a single person, I believe in the concept of the one, and I believe I'm waiting for the one that God has set apart for me, because that's the God that I've come to know, a God who is so intentional that even this part of my life, he has marked it
Thought
out.
it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you think?
I struggle with the concept of the one, because I believe in free will, that he gave us free will and he gave us choice. So I believe that you choose who you end up with, and then you continue choosing them every day.
Yeah.
However, I do believe that like there are people that like God thinks is a better choice for you than other people.
Okay.
What I do struggle with is, if you made a wrong choice, can God still bless that? Can God still bless a wrong choice?
Yeah.
So that's what I struggle with. And then obviously also I think like, okay, so if I leave it to God and leave it to the one, then what part do I have to play in it? Like I just sit and I just like wait for the man. Like I think I'm struggling with that. Yeah.
I liken it to every other thing in my Christian life. Like, for example, with like doing YouTube. Like God told me about YouTube last year, and I was just like, like already I'm struggling with Instagram. Sasa platform ingine, God, surely.
Yeah.
So I kimbiad until the end of the year. I was like, okay, fine, God, here I am, ready to be obedient. Let's do this. You will provide the grace.
Yeah.
So I had the option to opt out. Like I would have said, no, God, I don't want to do YouTube, and God would have respected that. But it doesn't take away from the fact that that was still his perfect will for me, that he had already thought about. I created Nkirote and I wanted her to do YouTube. I wanted her to work in this place. These were the friends I would send her, yada, yada, yada. So I feel like, yes, there is the element of choice, and even with purpose, like that's something that I've come to learn through church. Like, not everyone lives a purposeful life, because also purpose has a lot of like challenges, you know, like when you're walking in purpose and you've been commissioned out by God to do whatever it is, not necessarily ministry, even in the marketplace, people choose to say like, here I am, God, I am your servant, I will obey. And others are like, no, that's too much, I'm not going to do it. But does it take away from the fact that God had already set out, like what you're going to do? I think in Revelation, there's a verse that says there's like a book of life that God has written everything about. So when I just think of all of those things, the character of God as I've come to know it, I'm like, surely even my marriage, and I get it's a bit harder to think about because there's someone else who's involved. So it's like, if one of you messes up, what happens? Like, now God has to rewrite. Well, now my faith is in Romans 8:28. He will work out all things for my good. So I trust in a faithful God that me, I'm waiting, he's also waiting. That's actually usually one of my prayers for my husband. God, may you also allow him to wait for me. Let him not get tired in the waiting. But if I mess up, he messes up, both of us mess up, I think God in his infinite wisdom will know how to still work it out for our good. And doesn't mean that the quote unquote other marriages will not be successful. And probably that's even maybe the beauty of God. Maybe you won't even know. Maybe I'm waiting and my person already like is married, settled down. But God like will work out all things for our good.
I mean, I think I agree to that extent. I don't know. I feel like because I know myself and I know that I have the tendency to obsess and idolize and like really like overthink and overanalyze things. If I go with like the concept of the one, will I ever sleep? I will not sleep. So what I have, even when you're sharing like the specific prayers you've been praying for your husband, I don't pray those prayers, like to be honest. Maybe I need to like pull up my socks. I just pray for God to help me, like develop me to become the wife that he desires for me to become. I also recognize that marriage is a lot of work.
True.
Again, just being in close proximity with married people, I see how much work it is. But I also think for the kingdom, it's also a lot of work, and I desire a kingdom spouse. So I ask God to like help me strengthen my character to be able to serve out the purpose of the marriage, and to be able to be a good mother and to be a good wife and all of these things. That's the kind of like, that's what I'm currently praying for. And like, I just ask for like your will to be done when your time comes, like, because that verse says, when the time is right, I, the Lord, will make it happen. So it says that I, like, God is the one who's gonna make it happen. I do have my part to play. Of course, get out of the house, go on dates, talk to men, don't squeeze your face. Because like me, when men talk to me, I'm like, ew, like leave me alone.
Imagine me pali nimefika, I'm still like, that man can find me in the house. Imagine it is.
I feel like we need to like get out of the house.
I do get out, but I'm just saying, like, I feel like now the pressure is like on me to go and be like,
because we have a part to play.
Yes, we have a part to play, but
we have a part to play. So
God, you have a bigger part to play, no?
He does have a, like, because it says he will make it happen. So I'm just like doing my part. Like, when the time for dating comes, I'm ready and willing to talk to the men. I'm willing to like go on dates and like all of these things. Obviously not to open up myself like too much, especially if I know that this isn't going anywhere.
True.
But something that I was having this same conversation with someone else, a guy actually, and he was telling me maybe the focus needs, because he understands, like, I think there's a lot more pressure on women in the church specifically as opposed to men, and like single women, especially after 30. Oh, the pressure is crazy, right? It's so crazy. And how I knew I was in the right church for me specifically, we are not praying for husbands every Sunday. Like, we are being taught many other things. I think in my almost 1 year of going to that church, we've only prayed once about that. Like, if you desire marriage, come to the front. And it was both men and women, not just women. Exactly. Because like, there are some churches, there's some environments where it's just like husband, relax, like chill, like I'm doing so many other things, right? So he was just like, he recognizes the pressure is more on women. So he was telling me that maybe the focus needs to be on your relationship with Christ and strengthening strengthening it so much that you're in alignment with God's will always.
True.
So that everything you do, you know it's in alignment with God's will. So even when you meet a man, you can clearly tell, no, this is not in alignment with God's will for me, and this is. So this clearly must be the man for me, as opposed to like going with like, is this my husband? Is he the one? Whatever. Like I'm trying to be stayed on God's feet and be in alignment with his will, so that when the time comes and he does bring a man, by the way, I know very early on. Like usually, like I think I have the gift of discernment. Like I usually can tell, like maybe even in the first 2-3 conversations I have with you, I'm like, you're just not my man. Bye. You know what I mean? So that's just my thing. Like I'm just trying to like my focus be on Christ while still having that healthy desire, but I want to be so in line with God and his will for me, so that when the man comes, I just know, like I just, you know how people say, I just knew
there was just a sense
there was just like peace. I just knew this was it.
It felt
the
like
same
home.
way I know that these ones are not. I pray that I will know without like being so obsessed with, is he the one? Is he my husband? And all of these things. And even the time that it happens, I pray that I will be discerning of it, because I'm in alignment with God. So God is telling me, this is your current season, and when I remove you from this season, I'm now taking you to this next season. Your next season is going to look like this, and then you're gonna do this and all of these things. So that's where like my head is currently at. Maybe I need to pray for him a little bit more and for his
no pressure,
like maybe a little bit more than I am currently. But that's where I'm at. Do you have like, at the end of the episodes, we usually share what our best kept secret is about like this thing that we've been speaking about. What would you say yours is?
I'd say do it with God. If there wasn't like the protection and cover of God in my singleness, one, I'd just be like really, really depressed. Like, you know, those babes who are just like, which guys in my DMs we've gone, you know, like I feel like just keeping my eye on the prize, on the great reward, which is God, then that has like filled all of like just filled my life essentially. So I'd say one, like just do your single season with God, because he is love. So if this thing you're chasing is love, you know, is love within the container of marriage, within the container of motherhood, it's only he who is love that is going to grant that to you. And you also want to do it well and lay a great foundation. So definitely do it with God. And then specifically speaking to those who have a desire for marriage now, I'd just like to say that desire is indeed from God. It's not from anywhere else. It is not an ungodly desire. It could become an obsession, but the desire itself, like this is my belief. It is not Bible. Y'all don't quote me on this. I'm not a preacher, but I usually say if you have the desire for marriage, then that for sure is a desire from the Lord. It is not a desire from the enemy, because marriage in itself is a gift from God. So trust that he who gave you the promise is not a man that he should lie, that he's going to fulfill it. As you've said, he will make it come about in the right time. You know, in his time, he will make it happen. So just keep taking it to God for him to mold how that desire should evolve over time with different seasons. But definitely know that you have a God who cares so much about you. Like that verse that talks about like the lilies and God, like the birds, like surely, you know, like these animals, these inanimate objects, if God can take care of them so well, then you, like he's so mindful of you. He knows you by name. He knows those desires. He sees the tears you have cried in the wait, and he's going to make everything beautiful in his time. So just keep trusting that the will is from him and he's going to fulfill it in his perfect time.
Amen. I love that. I think for me, I would say, as someone who idolized marriage for very many years, I'm the best person for you to listen to. I'm also talking to myself as I'm saying these things. what has worked for me in my experience, what actually helped me stop idolizing marriage, one, I decentered men from my life. So all my conversations are not about men, are not about relationships, are not about marriage. Like, even with my friends, like, we talk about so many different other things. Even the content that I consume, like, I watch podcasts, sermons, like, have nothing to do with men, have nothing to do with marriage, like, completely. That definitely helped me. So I decentered men and I centered Christ and myself. That helped, number one. Number two, another thing that really helped me was finding interests outside of like marriage and children and all of these things. So I don't have hobbies yet, but I have things that I enjoy doing. I spend a lot of time with my friends. I spend a lot of time like in church, with my family,
The
like
Bible
Bible studies and like watching movies, like just like getting to know Sharon and just like being okay in the silence of Sharon and who she is. And especially like weekends, I know that's when like people are with their people, with their person. So those times I make sure to not like be because now that's how you end up being frustrated, like when you're just like, that's when you feel the loneliest, right? So when I feel lonely, and I'm craving like something, I look for human connection. Like I look for my friends, I look for things to do. And even now I struggle with loneliness. I can't even lie to you. Even last week I was feeling lonely. I was feeling like, God, so you just bring this man. He's taken such a long route. Like kwani alipitia wapi? Like, you know what I mean? Like I still struggle with the loneliness and whatever, but I've found other things to do outside of men and outside of relationships. What else would I do? I think I've also like really focused on being perfected by God, and I know that like the reason he hasn't brought it yet is because it's not time. And why is it not time? Because he hasn't developed me yet enough. And I think about even back then when I was saying this is my husband, if I actually got married at that time, I wouldn't have been a great wife and he would have been a horrible husband to me, and that marriage would have probably ended, ama tungekuwa separated or something. There was a lot of immaturity, especially on both ends, but on my end as well, right? So the reason it's not come yet is because it's not God's time, and because he feels like I'm not there yet. You can't give a child a baby to a car, you know what I mean? Like he can't drive. You give him a toy car. That's what he can handle at the time. So right now I probably can't handle marriage, and I can't handle the weight of marriage, and that's fine. So I'm like, okay, God, develop me then. Teach me, mold me, work on those things, work on those areas, the insecurities, the self-esteem, the self-worth, like help me so that like when you do bring it, I don't mismanage it, because I could have definitely mismanaged it. Even my last relationship, if he brought it then, even as healed as I thought I was, I would have probably mismanaged someone's son and a marriage, you know what I mean? So that's just where my focus is right now, and it's been working so far. 1 year in, check in another year. Maybe I'll have some other things to share. But thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Like I said, we were just gonna yap. Like the cameras are gonna go on and we were just gonna yap. And thank you so much for sharing. And guys, please watch her YouTube. She shares a lot of insightful things. Even her Instagram, if you're not a YouTube, like you can't sit down and but if you've sat down and listened to this or watched this, then you can do a YouTube. Please tell us your YouTube so people can follow you on Instagram and YouTube and everywhere.
Great. So YouTube is just my name, Nkirote Mutisya. Instagram is sincerely_Nkirote.
Please follow her. She's a great follow. Nice Christian girly vibes. And thank you so much for watching or listening. I will see you or hear you, or you will hear me in the next episode. Bye.